Today in this class, we are going to deal with a poem where the mind is without fear, which is written by Rabindranath Tagore. So, Rabindranath Tagore, in this poem, he speaks about some important things, his dreams about India. So, before studying this poem, let's learn some basic information about this poem and about Rabindranath Tagore. So, Rabindranath Tagore actually wrote this poem in Bengali in 1910, and this poem, Where the Mind is Without Fear, is under the collection of his poetry Geetanjali. And for this poetry collection Geetanjali, he was awarded the Nobel Prize in 1913, and in 1911 he himself translated this poem into English. And in English version, this poem is appeared as poem 35 in his collection Geetanjali. And this is the basic information about, very basic information about the poem Where the Mind is Without Fear. And Rabindranath Tagore said this poem in India. Every poem actually, every poet, they, or when they write a poem or a novel, they set a background for their work. And Rabindranath Tagore set this poem in India. And in this poem, he speaks about, or he reveals his dream to create such India after independence from British rule. So as when he wrote this poem, it was the year 1910, and when he translated this poem into English, it was 1911, and it is some 37 years before independence, and he wants India to be free, India to be independent. So he wants an independent India to be like this. He wants an independent India to be fearless, to be people of India should keep their head high, be confident. So he keep on speaking about all these things in this poem, and he dreams to create such India after its independence from British rule. So this is the poem, and I'll read out the poem and you just listen to that. Where the mind is without fear and head is held high. Actually, I want to tell you one thing, that this poem is a prayer, and we can clearly find that it is a prayer in the last 3 lines of the poem. And the poem is, he speaks about certain things, the dream he had for India. So where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habits, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever-widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. It's a very short poem, and it has only some 11 lines. And in this poem, Rabindranath Tagore speaks to God. It is a prayer. He speaks to God, and he wants India to be like this. He started this the poem in this way, where the mind is without fear and head is held high. He wants his people to be fearless, and he wants his people to keep their head high and be confident. And he wants his people to get knowledge, as he reveals that he wants his people to, his people means Indian people to get education. He wants his people of India, everybody should be educated. Where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls. Here in these lines, he speaks about that my people, my Indian people, should not be separated by narrow walls. He through this line, he represents these things, the things like caste, religion, race. So he don't want his people to be separated by all these things. And where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection. So he wants his people to speak only truth. He wants his people to work hard for their self-perfection, and where the clear streams of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habits. He wants his people to think clearly so that they won't believe in any superstition beliefs. where the mind is led forward by thee into ever widening thought and action. So in this line we can clearly note that where the mind is led forward by thee, and that thee denotes, or that thee refers God. So he wants God to lead his country, lead his people, so that it will become, or it will transform into a heaven. So into that heaven of freedom. So when God led this country, he thinks that India will be a country of heaven, and he prayed for that thing. So he wants his country to be like heaven. So I can clearly much elaborate that this thing. So the first very important thing he speaks in this poem is fearless. He wants his people to be fearless. So he wants his people to live without fear in their minds. As we all know, as I already told you, the difference between the mind and heart. So we all know that what is mind. So he wants his people to be fearless, and he wants his people to be confident. He wants his people to have their head held high and be confident. And he wants his people to have knowledge, which means he refers that every person in India should get education to all. And he wants his people to be true. He wants his people to speak only truth, and he wants his people that no people should tell lies for their own advantage. So as I want to become good, as I want to have my career good, for any reasons they don't want to tell any lie. And self-perfection. He wants his people to work hard to improve themselves to the state of self-perfection. So he wants his people to work hard so that they can improve themselves, so that they can bring them to the state of self-perfection. And as we already studied that, my people should think clearly, and they should not lose their ideas in superstition. He wants his people to question the blind beliefs. As we all know that we have many superstitious beliefs in India. So Rabindranath Tagore, at that time itself, he told that my people should not believe in any superstition, and they should question the blind beliefs of Indian superstition. So he already told that the minds of Indian people should be clear as a stream water, and he wants his people to think clearly, and he wants his people, Indian people, to think logically. In the final three lines, we can understand that he speaks to God. It's a prayer. This poem is completely a prayer. He speaks to God. So he wants his people, Indian people, to be led by God, so that India would be transformed into heaven, where all its people would be truly free. So when God led people, and the people will be good, and the Indian nation will transform into heaven, and the people of India will be truly free. So Rabindranath Tagore, in this poem, he speaks these things. He reveals his dreams, his ideas, and his desire for his country. So we came to know that in this very small poem, the wishes and dreams of Rabindranath Tagore. Thank you.